All students present here will soon be starting with the debrief by Balaji sir. Please make sure that you're all present during the debrief, after which you'll be having a test, the link to which will be shared by us when the time has come. Okay. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. Everyone, I would like to point this out to please keep the Q&A clean. Please only put genuine queries. Don't put test messages and such, as it makes it much harder for us to curate your questions and give a valid answer. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. Just for health check, Achintya, can you just text me how many people have joined so far?
Sure, sir.
Okay, all of you are around 8,000-9,000 people. If you start asking questions, so many of you, it's technically not possible to give you the answer. So just bear with me. We'll have all the questions, whatever is there in mind, we'll cover it as a part of the discussion. I hope that's okay with you, all of you. Yeah? Because when you're dealing with a large number of people and you have got only one or two people to respond, it is impossible to meet your expectations. So please bear with me. So boys and girls, welcome to day one of the session. And we'll just wait for 2 more minutes before we start. Okay? Just bear with me. And I have to send back some message to the team, those who are still not joined. Give me 1 second. All of you are requested to be on Microsoft Teams link. If you have not joined your Telegram, please join it now. As you know, Telegram, is the important mode of communication for us, because if I send you the mail for 5,000 people, many of you may get the mail, or some of you may get the mail as a bounce mail, or some of you get the spam mail. So it's very difficult to communicate on email. So anyone who is on YouTube, you all are requested to join us on video, MS Teams links as a anonymous. Okay, please join here, because this is more stable. We can communicate very easily. We can do the carry out. Chat window is available with you. You can chat on it, so it will be easier for you to communicate. So we have got around 30-40 people on YouTube links. So please, if you are listening to me, hearty welcome here on Microsoft Teams. Okay. boys and girls, I think very few people have joined. Hardly 400 people are in the call against the 6,000 people on the Telegram chat. So let's just start. Doesn't matter. Ultimately, those who are not joining, they are going to miss something. So just leave it them at their fate. If any one of you are finding any difficulty in listening or something, you can use Microsoft chat window to communicate. This chat window, Achintya, is available to the people. Is that right, Achintya?
Yes, sir. Me and the team are there.
So, can it be used by the children across the country, whoever have joined?
Yes, sir. They can use the Q&A as well as the chat.
Okay. So, boys and girls, if any one of you are finding any difficulty and you have any questions, feel free to ask the questions and then we can start, because I understand that many of them are having okay. So, as we embrace the journey of cyber defense, welcome to all of you, the cyber Rakshak of the future. We really appreciate your interest in this space, and whatever little we can do to make you go through the cycle of making you a cyber Rakshak down the line. We'll do every bit for it. With some time limitations of the systems, if any one of you are finding any difficulty to listen to me, please put it in the chat window. You can't speak because it's we planned it for the large group, but if this group is small, possibly tomorrow we can look for being on the Zoom, where the experience is much better. If it is less than 1,000 people, we can be on the Zoom from tomorrow. I just don't want to disallow any one of you to be in a situation. So, bear with me and let's start the journey of today. So, as I spoke, some of you have listened to me, some of you might not have listened to me. Some of you might not have listened to me in the call. Please go to the YouTube video sometime and just listen to my speech. Well, that's a very important thing, because a lot of instruction has been given to you guys so that you can embrace the journey of online learning much easier. And also I spoke a lot about, the current challenges that world is facing today and how you can become a cyber Rakshak and go on the journey of so you just call me on my normal phone here. It is going on my laptop and I'm speaking. No screening needed. Don't call me on. So when it comes to changing the dream in cybersecurity or cyber defense area, it is very important to understand what is the challenge and how we can overcome those challenges. So I discussed in my past session, I'm just taking clue from there, that cyber is a typical engineering problem and it requires some bit of engineering solution on a continuous basis. And it becomes very difficult sometimes to really embrace the journey of cyber defense unless you understand the underlying principles of engineering. So this course is all about igniting you in the area of cyber defense engineering. So many of you must have seen that there are courses like OSCP and Certified Ethical Hacker. People go for it, and they learn how to operate a tool. They don't learn, how to make those tools. So when you embrace the journey of cyber defense engineering as a part of our internal classes that you are undergoing today, next 200 or maybe 230, 40 hours, I don't know how much time it will take, but we'll definitely make sure that we end the session with a very positive note, that you all have understood what we expected you to be. So we are not in a hurry, we are not in a rush. Even if you have to spend a little more time, we'll give you more time, so that you embrace the journey of cyber defense engineering. You have interest, and you have shown your interest. We have deep interest to make you see that you become the good cyber Rakshak down the line. So when the journey of cyber defense engineering starts, it's all about solving the problems. So today is a very interesting day to start the journey for engineering. So today is Engineers Day. Are you all aware about it? Today is Engineers Day. Dr. Vishwasaraya, who is known to be the father of modern Indian engineering, birthday is celebrated as Engineers Day. So it is just a coincidence that we started the engineering journey today. So I'm sure God, Bhagwan has got its own design to make you cyber Rakshak and good cyber defense engineer. So with that, I have got a couple of submissions before we start. All of you have been sent a link. Please fill up those links, and only those people who will fill up the link, they'll be eligible for classes from tomorrow onward. Tomorrow onward, the classes will continue to be in the 6 o'clock in the evening every day. 6 to 10 or 11, whatever is possible, will continue. When you are bored, possibly will, leave. But 10 to 6 to 10 is a normal time. We'll undergo these trainings every day, except on the days of Saturday and Sunday. We'll check up with you guys if Saturday is, it is possible to take the sessions with all the people together. So some people are unable to send the message in the group, and Sarda, this is for you. This reason why you are unable to send the message, because people were really sending left, right, and center message. We have a handful of people to respond. If 5,000 people respond to the questions, it is impossible to answer the questions. So please bear with me. Sometime we need to put a barrier on the chat windows, and we can focus on the study more importantly. I hope you are already in the session, and you continue on the sessions, as we embrace the journey of cyber defense engineering. So 2-3 things are very important to understand, that and I am very confident some of you already know Python, and some of you, if not, there's no worry about that. We'll definitely have the journey of other than the Python available to us, down the line. But if you know Python, it's a great thing to start. If you don't know, no worry. We'll have the sessions, to continue. So with that, today, welcome all of you to the interesting session for cyber defense engineering, and there will be a small test just after my call. All of you will see a link in the Telegram, and if you are not connected to Telegram and you are not connected to the chat window here in the meeting chat of Microsoft Teams, then possibly you will not be able to get access to those exam questions. And only those people who will write the exams, only they will be eligible for further sessions from tomorrow onward. So if you have not joined Telegram so far, and for any reason you are not on the Telegram, it will be difficult for you to continue the session. And some people's, ID was showing the behavior of the bot or a compromised systems. Some of you have been blocked forever and will not be able to, get you in at any point of time, even if I want you to be getting. So please bear with me. There's all reasons why we need to continue and learn this journey of cyber defense engineering. And I'm sure that, as the journey continues, you'll be able to embrace these learnings very easily. So with this, I'll hand it over to Mr. Achintya, who is going to be your mentor for the next 30 days time. And we'll keep on connecting. Tomorrow, please be on time. I have got a very interesting guest for you. Possibly, you'll be surprised to know some who's and who's of the country. They'll be coming and embracing you every day, and you'll be lucky to hear from them the importance of cybersecurity, so that you can take the journey of cyber defense engineering on a priority basis. So, Achintya, over to you, and you can launch the questions now on the chat window here as well as in the Telegram. Thank you.
Sure, sir.
All the best, boys and girls. No need to worry about if you don't know anything. That's fine, but you need to question answer is a must. You need to give your question answer. If you don't submit your answers, you will not be eligible to continue in the classroom. Even if you don't know anything, even if you get 1 number, still you can continue. But if you don't submit it, you will not be eligible to continue in the classroom. So please make sure that you are there in the question banks and you are answering the questions. Thank you. Anyone on YouTube, please feel free to join as anonymous in MS Teams, because it is easy to continue. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to be there. Over to you, Achintya.
Sure, sir. Okay, students, so we have 3 instructions for you. The first one is, while you're giving the test, do not leave this MS Team or YouTube, whatever you have joined us with, okay? Do recommend moving to MS Teams and joining as anonymous, and later on worrying about, what to do with your Microsoft account, because the audio and video in MS Teams will be much more clear for everyone here. So we do recommend MS Teams over YouTube right now. And third, I am about to put the link in about 1 more minute. You will have exactly 30 minutes, 30 minutes, also known as half an hour, to complete the test, okay? After half an hour, automatically the form will stop taking any and all responses. So you won't be able to fill it after that point. I'll be having a stopwatch here. Automatically a script will stop the form. Also, please note, we are sharing a form which is tagged as mandatory in the group. It is to make sure that, nobody outside India or, bots and other machines are not getting part of this group. So for that, we have shared a form called with a tag mandatory. Please make sure to fill that form before the end of today's class, okay? So you have till whenever I'm teaching, okay? So at least next 2.5 hours. So please take the time and fill the form, okay? We want every single person listening to me right now to fill the form, okay? For now, give me around 30 seconds. You will see a test link in chat soon. students, please make sure that you're part of the Telegram and that you are trying your best to join this MS Teams, as YouTube has some issues with their protocol and their servers. It doesn't sit well with MS Teams, so you might have issues on the YouTube front. Okay, we are sharing the test link on YouTube as well. Okay, so you will still have access to the link for today on the YouTube live chat as well. But please, okay, make sure that you are not, um, you know, joining classes regularly on YouTube, because this will cause issues. I repeat, the link is on Telegram group. Please start taking the test. Your time has started the moment I put the link in the Telegram group. You have 30 minutes. All questions must be answered. Even if you don't know anything, try to use common sense in answering questions. You are not graded for this test. Students, around 10 minutes more. Please bear with us. Do not leave MS Teams. If you're listening to this on YouTube, join the Telegram and get on MS Teams. Okay, students, the test is now over. I repeat, the test is now over. Those who are listening to me on MS Teams and those who are listening to me on YouTube, for both parties, I would like to mention this again. The test is over. We'll be closing the sheet.
Just a second, Achintya. Just one second. Boys and girls, please submit. Put the submit button, because once we close it, you won't be able to submit it again. So I'll give you another 2-3 minutes time. Please just close it. Doesn't matter. Whatever answer you have done within the time is fine. We'll wait for 3-4 minutes. You have some time to submit whatever you have done. Just submit it now. Okay? Otherwise, once we close it, you won't be able to. Whatever you have done, you will not be able to submit it. So quickly close it. Whether you are on YouTube or on MS Teams. Once again, I request all of you to be on the MS Teams, Microsoft Teams. If you don't have the link, please join it here in Telegram and be there part of it. Okay? Otherwise, it's very difficult to communicate. Boys and girls,
Students, the test is over. I repeat, the test is over.
Achintya, if you have switched on the video, you can switch off once and switch on again so that you have a different file for the session that you are going to do, because that session will be an important one.
I couldn't understand you. Could you repeat that again?
I was saying that, if you have put the video recording on, please switch it off for some time. And then again you switch on, because the next session that you are going to take is an important session where the people will love to see your videos.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Students, I'm back. I'm going to go ahead and share my entire screen and then we'll start. Okay. If you have issues throughout, you can put your your queries in the chat box or in the Q&A section. We have 2 team members reviewing both those places as well as YouTube live. So if you have any queries, please put them there. In between, I'll be stopping after around every 7 to 10 minutes to have a look at the queries myself. Okay, and I'll try to answer some of them. We'll take our time, we'll go slow, we'll try to understand each and every concept in depth. Okay, again, as sir said, we are not in a hurry. Okay, so because we are not in a hurry, we'll take our time and we'll make sure that the student is getting all the concepts and all the materials properly. Okay, so my screen should be live now and you should be able to see the Cybervidyapeeth website in a few seconds. This is our official website. If you want more information about the syllabus, you can find it here in the What Will You Learn section. You can see the course is divided into 3 parts. For new people who have joined us today, this information is pretty important. So I want you to go to this link, which is cybervidyapeeth.in/training/cyber-rakshak-beginner, and then find this part called What Will You Learn? Okay. Here you'll find drop-down boxes which will give you access to all the different syllabus and whatever we'll be covering. Okay. There'll be 3 sections. Okay, so I think I'm clear with that. I can see the chat. There's not many questions about this, so I think we can move on to the second part. So now the next thing what I want is, before I even go into what is Python, why Python for cyber defense engineering, or what is, just one line about what is cyber defense engineering, before any of that, I'm just going to tell you the requirements for operating systems. So the first requirement, as you can see here, is to either have a Windows, Mac or Linux system. These are the 3 operating systems we support. You are highly, we are telling you mandatorily, you need to have a laptop or a desktop. If you do not have one of these and you're trying to code, say on a tablet or a mobile phone, it's going to make it really, really hard to follow along. So we highly recommend a Mac, Windows or Linux laptop. Okay. We do not provide support for BSD operating system. Yes, after after you have an operating system and a laptop or a desktop, you can go ahead with our steps. So right now I'm going to show you the steps for 2 operating systems. Okay, Windows and Linux. For Windows, I'm just going to follow through with the standard install for Anaconda, which is the Python distribution that most people here at Cybervidyapeeth and even in the industry you'll see people use. It is useful when you're doing work with data science. It is also useful when you're doing work with security projects. So we'll be going with Anaconda for majority of our teachings, okay? At least till around 60 to 70% of the course. Then we'll be introducing you to something called as Linux and Kali Linux, where you'll be learning about the more bare bone distributions of Python, such as the Linux binaries of Python. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the Anaconda website, which is anaconda.com. Okay, so you can I think yes, my screen is visible. Perfect. So on Anaconda, you want to go to this big download button on their main page. Based on your operating system, the symbol here will automatically change. You can also see down here download links for Linux, Debian, Mac, and Windows. Right? You can also see get additional installers. So I'm just going to click on the download button once. It's going to start a download here for about 594 MB. My net is pretty healthy, so it should download fast. So we're just going to give it a minute. Okay, because the setup is the most important part, okay, before we start with anything, because I want you guys to be able to write code alongside me. So now I'm going to click on Anaconda. It's going to take a second. There we go. So here's the setup box for Anaconda. Okay. Now, as I said, Anaconda is a Python distribution. Means it's a openly distributed version of Python, which has some add-ons or libraries added on top of it, which makes our work and your work a lot easier when you're starting to learn. Later down the lane, we'll teach you how to do this manually. Just grab the binaries from the GitHub and manually configure all the command line. But for now, let's keep it very simple. A graphical interface where you just need to press next. Here is the end user license agreement for Anaconda. We recommend that you go through it once. After that, you can click I agree. Now, you can install it for just me or for all users. I recommend doing it just me because that's the recommended way of doing it. Okay. I'm going to hit next. Then it's going to ask me where you want to install this. So I'm actually going to change the path. I'm going to change this to F because as you can see, I have much more space in the F directory. I'm going to hit next. It's going to give me these two options. I'm going to make sure that, you do not select this option. So if you select this option in the advanced, you'll see you get a red box. It says not recommended. Instead, open Anaconda 3 using the Windows Start menu and select Anaconda 64. So we're not going to select this because Anaconda tells us to not select this option. You are going to select the second advanced option here. Make sure that you're selecting this option right here. I'm going to click install now, and it's going to start installing. So Windows and Mac installs are pretty much straightforward with Anaconda. If you're on Ubuntu, you can just Google it up, okay? Anaconda 3 Ubuntu 20.04 or 22.04 install, and you can follow that along. If you're using an advanced distribution like OpenSUSE, Gentoo, Arch Linux, then I am expecting you to be smart enough and knowledgeable enough to actually go ahead and complete the installation yourself, okay? Because we are not doing demos of those advanced distributions here. Same goes with BSD. I know Python works on BSD, but we are not providing any support for open or free BSD. So if you know how to install Python there, please go ahead and do it, okay? So let's give it a second because it's going to make a huge cache. And until that happens, I'm going to switch my screen and I'm going to come to the PPT and we'll have to look at the first slide, okay? So as you guys know, this course is taught by Cybervidyapeeth Foundation, and this has been in association with AICTE and CERT-In, okay, which are the two government bodies supporting this program. Our focus in this program is to teach you 3 facets of Python, which will help you kickstart your career in cyber defense engineering and become a cyber rakshak for Bharat. So moving on, let's, while the install happens in the background, let's have a look at what is Python first. And again, this is a very, very high level overview of what is Python. So I'll try to explain, just a few lines about each and every one of these points so that you guys have a rough idea of what, Python really, this language really entails and how it is different from, say, something like the C programming language or Java, right, which is also very, very popular in the market right now. So as we can see, the first thing to note here is Python is a high-level programming language. It means it is going to have a lot of extra low-level code in it, is going to make your life a lot easier. What do I mean by that? So the commands, they are very similar to real world. Okay? So if you write print something to the screen, that is more or less how code is written in Python. Okay? So Python is very easy to read from a human eye perspective, and that is why it is called a high level programming language. Also note that it is an open source and community driven language. Okay? So open source means that it's code, okay, the language itself, all the tools that it comes with by default. So the interpreter, I'll explain what the interpreter is, the libraries, the standard libraries, all of it are there by default. It is community driven. Community driven means that there are companies and not-for-profit organizations as well as individuals who help improve Python. Okay. So a good example of this is companies such as Infosys and Toshiba who use Python in their production environments and for their websites. So Python is very well loved and highly used language by developers all across the world. It's used by a lot of people to get into programming and learn programming. So then we see the third point written here, batteries included. Now this is a term we have cherry picked right from the people who created Python. Okay, what do batteries included mean? So this is in reference to rapid application development methodology. I don't want to throw too many big words, so I'll just explain to you in simple terms. Say that today you want to make a website. To make the said website, you need a programming language. Okay. Whatever programming language you pick, it is going to take 1 to 2 months, 3 months minimum, even with a team of 4 or 5 people, to make the said website. Python makes that easier for you by already having modules and libraries and code written by other people, curated by the developers of Python to make your job easier. Okay? So this is what batteries included means. It already has libraries and code that you can use to build your next website, your next command line app, your next GUI app, right? It comes with those things by default. And you always have the option to install more by the community. It is a standard distribution that includes many modules. So Python works on the concept of modules. You can think of it like so. There is one table. The table has 7 parts. First of all, you need to place the table's stand on which the table is built. Then you add the other parts of the table, the 6 other parts of the table to make the entire table. Then you can put your food or your laptop on the table. Similarly, Python, just bare bones Python, is powerful but limited. So we have many modules or code written by other people that you can use in your own programs. Then another important concept is dynamically typed. Now the dynamically and statically typed, I'm going to come to that point later. Okay, so let's just consider that a mystery point for now, because we have a whole section about that where we go pretty deep, and we teach you how to make Python static in some special situations. You can also see that it is a hybrid programming interface. What I mean by that is there are 2 types of programming interfaces. So there is the interpreter style and then there is the compiler style, right? So Python can actually do both. It can take source code and compile it into a binary, or it can use the interpreter under the hood to run your commands. It can do both. If you do not understand, because this is your first programming language, what is the difference between a compiled language and an interpreted language? When I show the demo, it will be much more. Okay. Python is also compared to Perl, TCL, and Ruby because these are also interpreted languages that work on similar principle. Under the hood, of course, the situation is much different, but from the programmer's perspective, they look similar. As we go deeper into C Python and the deeper understanding of Python later in the course, we will understand that Python is so much different, and it's completely cross-platform, which is amazing. So you can run it on, even Android, as a matter of fact, Android, iOS, Mac, Windows, Linux, everything is supported by Python, and your applications will work fantastically. So with this, I think we have a rough idea of what Python is, what it's capable of, where it's used, and how it is similar to other languages. Okay. So let me go back to the install, and this install may take a little bit time, as you can clearly see right now, the Anaconda install. This is happening because Anaconda is trying to create multiple, test environments. It's trying to use the conda install command, which is the special command you get when you are using Anaconda, and it's trying to do some other fun stuff. So we'll get into all this. So now it says completed. So I'm just going to hit the next button. It's going to tell me something about a program called data spell, which I'm going to ignore for now. Hit next. And I'm going to uncheck getting started with Anaconda and Anaconda distribution tutorial. I'm going to uncheck both of those. Okay. I'm going to hit the finish button. So now, theoretically, Anaconda is installed in my system. So I'm on Windows, so I can just press the Windows key and it will open this Windows installation menu right here, the start menu, not the installation menu. I'm going to go to the Anaconda Navigator. Okay. So if you're on Mac or Linux, you want to look for this program right here, Anaconda Navigator. So I'm just going to click on that. We're going to wait, as it's going to take a little bit time because this is the first time we're firing it up. It's going to make some temporary files. It's going to make a temporary account and a bunch of other stuff in the background. You can already see the initializing. Let's give it a sec, and it should be up. There we go. So this is an issue with Anaconda. Anaconda no longer available. Okay, good. So here we have Anaconda. Okay. Now, as you can clearly see, inside the navigator, we have a few options, right? If you look at the left side, you have home, environments, learning, and community, which you can always click on and have a look. You can see the base or the root environment is up. You also have the documentation link down here on the left. You have the Twitter, the YouTube, and the GitHub link. On the right side, at the top, you have the upgrade now and connect button. So Anaconda is run by a company, and they do provide premium services if you're building a huge app and you're doing a lot of data science, deep learning and data science work. They do provide those kinds of services. We won't be needing them, of course. So, okay, job one done. To test it out, I'm just going to click the launch button here for this option, PowerShell prompt. Runs a PowerShell terminal with your current environment from Navigator activated. So I'm just going to make sure that applications on is selected to base or root, which will be the default. So it will be selected automatically, as you can see on my screen. And I'm going to hit launch. And down here, you'll be able to see where my cursor is, launching PowerShell. And please ignore the error. That's completely fine. That's because of a script. And there we go. So now we have PowerShell. So you can notice here the message base, which is also the name of the environment that we're in right now. And inside this environment, you can access Python. So to test Python, now I'm going to type python.exe and hit enter. And it's going to drop me inside Python. So if you're able to see this, you're able to come to till this portion on a Windows system, you are golden. You have installed Python, it's up in there and it's running perfectly fine and it's stable. So I'm going to exit out of it. To exit, I'm going to type EXIT, one bracket open, one bracket close, like so. Hit enter. This exited me out of the interpreter environment for Python. Again, what is an interpreter, what is not, we'll come to it. You can just think of it as running a file. Okay? PowerShell is basically the terminal for Windows, for all the Linux and Mac people who are getting confused. Okay, this is how it looks on a Windows system if you've never used a Windows system before. So I'm going to close this, and now we need an editor or an IDE to write our coding. An IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. And for this course, I am going to be using VS Code or Visual Studio Code by Microsoft. So I'm going to go to my Chrome browser again and search for VS Codium and just open the first link that I see. Okay. So here you should be able to see this website. The link is vscodium.com. Okay. Now VS Codium is an open source free Libre version with no telemetry or no tracking, because Microsoft actually does a lot of tracking in their original VS Code. VS Codium is usually, much updated on the security patches, and it's usually, just much more clean. It's much more lightweight. So we're going to use this for most of our course. You can also use Sublime Text, but that's a much more advanced IDE. So I'm not going to go into that in this one. I'm going to click the install button right here at the top. It's going to take me to this download latest release available for Mac, Windows, and Linux. I'm just going to click that, and it should take me to the GitHub. Yeah, perfect. So this website, it's called GitHub. You're going to be seeing a lot of this as you learn more and more programming. GitHub is what we call a VCS, or a version control system. More about that towards the end of the course. So here you can see inside the releases, we have a 2-day-old release. If I go down, here's the tag for the release. You also see that this is the latest release for VS Codium. And if I go down, I can see assets. Okay? This menu right here. If you don't see any long list, just click on the assets, you'll be able to see the list. From here, we want to look for a .exe file. So for example, this file is a .rpm file. I am looking for a .exe file. Okay? So I'm going to go down for a .msi file. So I think I will be able to find the MSI pretty easily. So here's one MSI, but the architecture is different. So let's keep going down. We can see Windows 32-x64 here. And we should be able to see the MSI. Perfect. There we go. So here's the MSI. 2 days ago, this build was done. This is the x64 or the 64-bit version. If your laptop is not more than 10 years old, this is exactly what you need to know. Okay? So I'm just going to, again, all the links will be put in the, the Telegram group, so that you have access to all of this. After the class gets over today, you will be able to follow through, of course, and make sure that you have any questions, you are sending them to us. Okay? So this is the link I'm going to click on. So I'm just going to click on it once, and it's going to start the download. It's around 94.2 MB, as you can see here. So it should be downloaded. There we go. I'm going to click on it. Windows is going to stop it because it can detect the publisher, because this is an open source file. It doesn't have a commercial publisher. It's fine. It's completely safe to run this file because we've downloaded it from the official repository. So I'm going to run it. Here I'm going to select I accept the terms and license agreement. Again, make sure to read through the license agreement. This is the MIT license. I have already read it through. So I am going to click on install. You will receive a pop-up from Windows saying that are you sure you want to allow access? Just select yes. On Mac also you will get 2 pop-ups, and on Linux there will be no pop-ups. It will immediately install. Once the installation is done, you will come to the screen. Uncheck the launch VS Code option. Make sure launch VS Code is not selected and click finish. Once you're done till here, we are going to go back into our Anaconda Navigator, and I'm going to go ahead and close it. So I'm going to exit the Anaconda Navigator. Then I'm going to open Anaconda Navigator again. This is an important step. You're going to have to close and open it up again, and you'll see why in just a second. I apologize, for the delay on the software end. There we go. It's already up, so I can just go there. There we go. Now, what has happened here is that in the when we're using the base environment, we want our IDE to be detected by Anaconda. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to launch the IDE from there. So there are 2 ways to solve this issue. One, you can use the official VS Code, which I'll also show how to install in case you don't want to use VS Codium. Or 2, you follow me right now. So I'm going to open VS Codium. Right? So there we go. VS Codium. My screen should be visible now for VS Codium. I'm going to just select the dark theme and just make sure that I'm done with all the configuration. And this is how VS Code EM looks. It's basically VS Code without the, the creepy tracking Microsoft does. So here, you want to go to the left towards the last icon which says extensions. On Windows, it's Control Shift X, and this will open up the extensions tab. Okay, you will see a bunch of extensions. Okay, I want you to search Python here. You will see there are about 3, 4, 5, 6, few different Python installation, different packages that you can install here. You want to look for the Anaconda extension pack. This Anaconda extension pack, make sure that you have most of the things required for working with Anaconda. We'll be installing some more though. So we'll be installing the Windows Python Environment Manager and a few other things. So I'm just going to click on Anaconda extension pack and hit the install button. You can see, if I just go full screen, you can see that it's installing right now. So we're going to give it a few seconds for VS Code EM to go ahead and finish the install. It's going to download the required files for our working environment and install them on our system. There we go. Installation is succeeded. So it's telling me that you can actually create a Python file now and work with Python. I'm just going to click on mark done for now. Okay? I'm not going to play with that. And I am going to go towards the top. And we see a module called as Magic Python, which gets us some really good highlighting. So I'm going to install that as well. Give it a second. Let it install. There we go. It's installed. And then finally, I want Python Environment Manager. I'm going to install that as well. So these are some extensions that you want to install. Again, the list of all these extensions will be shared to you in Telegram with all the appropriate links. So you can go ahead and install them. You can do this exact same step on VS Code as well. So if you're using the official VS Code by Microsoft, it's still going to work exactly as you intend. Okay, it's not going to be any issues whatsoever. So give me a second. Yeah. So the last thing is you're going to find Python extension pack. Okay, this is a really amazing group of extensions, and you want to go ahead and make sure that we have auto doc string, also known as the Python doc string generator. This specific module only. So I'm just going to install this as well. I'm going to again give it a few seconds, and there we go. It's installed. Now, what I can do is I can close all the additional riffraff, and this is how VS Code looks without any issues. Okay. So now I recommend that you close VS Code and open it once, because we have installed a lot of stuff on it. Okay. We want to give VS Code some time. So I'm going to look for VS Code EM again and launch it again. Again, VS Code EM. I'm going to use them, in XJ, like just like that. I'm going to change the terms because they're the same app. The only difference is VS Code EM is just smidge lighter. It doesn't have any tracking or telemetry. So now I'm going to go to this open folder section. I think you can see this section. Open folder. I am going to go to a folder that I've already created, and I'm going to select the folder. It's going to give me a message. It's going to say, do you trust the authors of the files in this folder? This is a security feature that was recently added into VS Code. Because I do trust this path and all the files in this path, I'm going to select trust the authors. If you ever see this screen and you have not tried to open a file in VS Code yourself, I recommend selecting no, don't trust, because there may be some kind of malware on your system. Because getting access to VS Code actually does allow you to compile and run outside code. So I'm going to select trust the authors, and I'm going to trust the authors. There we go. Once I trust the authors, I'm going to close the get started, and again this is going to become completely empty. Towards the left, I'm going to select hello.py, which is the only file right now inside the system. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give the VS Code a few seconds. You might see when I clicked on the py file, some stuff happened, some magic happened. VS Code has done a lot of magic behind the scenes for us. And the magic you'll see soon. So, bottom right side, you'll see this yellow button, select. Bottom right side, you will see the select interpreter button, right? So you want to click on it. It will give you the Anaconda environment. So if you see, you will see, select interpreter Python. You can put the path or you can select a pre-installed path. We already know that we have installed Python using Anaconda and the name Anaconda is coming up. So I'm just going to select it. And with that, our environment is installed. Okay. Now what I want to do is make sure that just beside the environment button on the left, you will see a language mode option. I want to make sure that you have selected Magic Python here, because Magic Python provides the best color coding for typing Python code. Okay. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to make sure that you have understood these steps. Okay. I'm going to be back after about a minute or so. Okay, I can see the comments. It looks like people are having some issues looking at the text of the VS Code. So, that's the second thing I was going to teach. So let's go with that. I'm going to teach you how to increase the font of your VS Code. So to do that, we will be going and finding preferences settings, which is in file preferences setting. Once you click on it, you will get to the settings section. In the settings section, you want to search for editor font size, and I'm going to just increase that to something like 22. Okay. I'm also going to increase the editor tab size and make it like 7. So it's much more visible, maybe 10. Yeah, this is much better. And then in the search settings area, I'm going to type font font. Okay. This will search all the font settings that are available in the VS Code editor. From this point onwards, I'm going to make sure that I go through every single option and increase the font wherever I feel the font is small. So suggest font size and all these font size, it's completely fine. The input font size can be increased to something like 15. Screencast mode, okay, I'm going to leave the font size to default. The console font, I'm going to increase it to something like 18. Markdown preview, I'm going to leave that as default. And I think, yeah, integrated terminal font also needs to be 18. What else? I don't think we need to make any more changes. Okay. Again, exactly the options I'm changing, you will get a list of every single option I'm changing here. Okay. You will have all of it on Telegram. So you can always go back, refer, see, and make the changes. Okay. So with that, if I come back to the hello.py file, you can see that it's much more visible now, right? The hello world message or whatever code is written here. So I'm going to close settings for a minute. And I'm going to remove the code. So now there is no code. And on the top, just beside the hello world, hello.py file name, you will see a dot, right? That dot means that you have not saved your file. To save this file, you have to do Control S. Now the file is saved. Okay. So this is your editor. This is where you'll write all the code, and this is where you'll play around with the different settings. Okay. If you want to be able to access your files and folders in the terminal, you have to go to the terminal and select the new terminal button. This will open a terminal down here, and you will be able to run your programs in here. Okay. If you want to open a terminal with the base Python environment, the virtual environment, or the Anaconda system, right? We had selected a system here, base Anaconda 3 python.exe. If you want to be able to use this, then I recommend just clicking on this run button at the top right, and now you're in the environment. So if I do python.exe, it should be able to take us there. Okay. Also, please make sure, yes, please make sure here that if you're having issues with the Conda environment or the Python environment, just close VS Code and run it up again. Okay. This, like 99% of the time, this solves the issue. If still the issue persists, I recommend rebooting your system, making sure that Anaconda is set up properly, and that VS Code has all the extensions I've told you about. If any one thing is missing, it can cause unexpected behavior. Okay. So for example, right now I just closed both VS Code and Anaconda, and I'm opening them again. Okay. This is recommended, especially after long sessions of coding or setup, to just close everything up, save your files, open everything back up. This also cleans up the RAM or the memory in the background. So it makes your job as a programmer much easier, and it makes your overall experience with Python a lot better. So I'm going to open VS Codium again. It should already remember all the settings from previous time. It's going to discover and load the Python interpreter and all that stuff. I'm just going to remove these terminals. I don't need them. And I'm going to go to the Anaconda Navigator. So Anaconda Navigator is also working perfectly fine. Amazing. Incredible. So now there are many ways to run Python code here. Okay. I'm going to teach you the first line of Python. So you might be thinking, okay, I don't know anything about Python. I don't know how to write the code. It's going to be very scary. Don't worry. This is going to be a one-line program. And as our course progresses, we'll learn more about this language, how it works, and how we can take best advantage of it. So the line that I'm going to write is print, and inside small brackets, I'm going to put quotes, double quotes, not single quotes, to be very clear. And I'm going to type hello, Cyber Vidyapeeth. Okay. So very simple code, nothing special here. Again, for those who have never coded in Python, calm down. You're about to see magic. Okay. I'm going to do CTRL-S, and you will notice that white pill disappear at the top, which means that my code is now saved. You can also save by going to File, Save. Okay. Once the file is saved, we can run it through several ways. I'm going to take the long route. I'm going to go to the Anaconda Navigator. I'm going to go to the PowerShell prompt and launch the PowerShell prompt. Once the PowerShell prompt is launched, inside the PowerShell prompt, I'm going to go into the folder where my code is. So my code is in so we can just right click, copy path, and this is how I know this is the path. I'm just going to copy this. This is again a feature in VS Code, makes our job much easier. And I'm going to go into this. Perfect. I'm pressing CTRL-L to clear the screen and LS to show me what is inside the directory. These are all common Linux terminal commands. If you never work with Linux, we'll have some links so you can get started. Okay. So this is a terminal. This is exactly what you find on Mac as a terminal, on Linux as something like GNOME terminal, XFCE terminal, or AICTE. So here you can see PowerShell is telling us that there is a file here, hello.py, right, which was written to last at this time and date, and it has a special mode. Again, I'm not teaching PowerShell here, so I'm not going into the modes and all. But here's the file. You can also see the base message here. So it means that we're inside our Python environment. Now to run this program, this is the command you're going to need to type. You'll be typing python.exe. space the name of the file. Okay, so there's a this backslash always not required, and hit enter, and you can now see the message, hello cyber vidyapeeth. Now how simple was that? Just look at the code and look at the text. Just a single line you were able to print to the screen, to your your laptop or your desktop screen. This is one of the few reasons why Python is loved by so many people. The language is so easy to understand and use, and it uses many English words directly. Okay, this makes it easier for us, the learners, to better grasp the language. So print is usually the first thing people show, but it is not the first concept you should be learning. So now that you've jolted this command down in your brain and on Telegram, and you have a rough idea of what this does, let's go back to the PPT and first cement our fundamentals, because I feel that we are getting ahead of ourselves here. So as you know, I've already explained some basics about what Python is, what kind of community it has, how it works on a very high level. Let's move on. Okay, I can see that some people are having issues with PowerShell. So to go into the PowerShell prompt, you want to go to your Anaconda Navigator and use this PowerShell prompt option right here. You don't have to do anything. Just click launch and it will automatically open a PowerShell for you. Okay, you won't find all this error. This is my own code which is causing the error. Instead, you will have something like this with your C user's username, blinking cursor, and the word base. You won't have to worry. It will automatically configure everything for you if you're on a Windows system. If you're having issues with this, any specific issue, you can try Googling it as well, because many times what happens is if it's a Windows specific issue, it's probably already been solved if it's related to PowerShell. Okay? So if it's a PowerShell issue, that's not part of the syllabus. So you can just Google it up. If it's an Anaconda issue, then you can put it in Telegram. You can send it to us as well, okay, in Q&A and chat, and we have the team. So you don't have to worry about that. So here's the second page of the PPT. Python installation and setup, right? So you have to do all these setup. Again, I just took you through the setup, so I'm not going to waste our time on this slide. You would know exactly how to do the setup on Windows, and a pretty similar setup on Mac. The only difference is, if you're using Mac and a terminal, then it's going to be much more easier to get into the environment, the base environment of Anaconda. I'm going to keep the screen for about 10 to 15 more seconds so that to make sure that everyone gets to see the screen, and then they'll move ahead. Okay. I can see some people are asking till when the session will go. So we have fixed syllabus for every day until all problems can be sorted, and everyone has completed that day's syllabus. We will have the session. So the session can go till 10, 11, 12. I can be here with you to help you throughout. So you don't need to worry about that. I'm here. Some people are asking about other IDs such as Sublime Text, PyCharm, or the Vim text editors. So if you know how to use PyCharm or Vim or Sublime, you are more than welcome to go ahead and try it. Especially those people who have written Vim, I'm impressed. So if you know how to set it up, please go ahead. If you don't, we would recommend you stick with the standard Python, especially on the Linux side of things, and try not to mess too much your distribution's Python settings. So say you're on Ubuntu, it already comes with 3.10 Python. So just use that. That's going to run fantastically. But if you are on Mac and Windows, then Anaconda is pretty much a no-brainer. You should be going with it. So moving on, here's the basic syntax. We just showed you the Hello Cybervidyapeeth program, which is a rendition of the famous Hello World program, which is very popular across almost every single programming class. Okay, no matter which programming language you learn, you go to university, you go to college, you go to school, you do your own research. This is the first program people tell you to try, which is the Hello World program. And the concept is usually the Hello World program gives you a nice idea of how a Python program can work. And to be honest, this is the most simple, output-based program that you can make in print hello. You could always just print nothing. You could have that argument, but it's not really fun, right? And that's one of our goals here, right? We want you guys to have fun. Every single thing we play around with, I want you guys to do it yourself on your end. So here we are looking at the basic syntax. So to execute Python in the interpreter, so these three dashes mean the interpreter. And again, you can have a look at the interpreter. If I go to the PowerShell and I type python.exe and hit enter, these three dashes right here, right? If I zoom in, these three dashes, these give you the message that you are in the interpreter right now. And you can actually run the same code here. So you could type print bracket start close double quotes, and between the double quotes, hello, comma, cyber, vidya, beat, and hit enter. And you can see the message gets printed. If you're like me, a perfectionist, I'm going to add exclamation mark, and there you go. So now this looks beautiful, right? So we're able to run the same exact code that we were able to run in, myfile.py or test.py or hello.py. The name doesn't matter, right? But the same code runs here as well, meaning this is also a way to run Python code, right? So here you can see that there are two ways to run, right? There's the normal way, and then there is the run the file. Okay, both of which I just showed you. Right? So we showed you the file before, and now we've showed you the interpreted way, directly running it through the interpreter. So before I come to keywords and identifiers, I'm going to take a minute, make sure that I answer all the different questions that are coming from the different students. Okay, so just give me a second. Okay, I can't seem to find too many questions here. Most of the relevant questions have been answered. And if you are using Linux, please mention which distribution of Linux, okay? Because there's like 500-700 Linux distributions, okay? So we only support the top 3-4. So please be very careful with your wording when you're asking a question in the group. So if you're saying, who here uses XYZ Linux, okay? Be specific with your problems. And so that, we can answer you very, very fast, okay? So for Linux, I can give you support for Fedora, Ubuntu, anything based on Ubuntu and Debian, basically. That includes Kali Linux, Zorin, Manjaro, MX Linux, Gentoo, Arch, Red Hat, OpenSUSE, Linux Mint, okay? So these are all of them that I've used and worked with, and I can give you support for. But if you're using something like, custom Arch install with OpenRC or Gentoo with systemd, I'm sorry, those are some really niche cases. Can't really help you with that. But if you're that level of knowledge that you're running such OS, I feel you should be able to do a Python install by yourself. So as there are no important questions, I'll move on. So the next topic we'll be discussing today is going to be keywords and identifiers. Keywords are basically special words or reserved words in the Python programming language. Okay. What I mean is to say is they are reserved in the sense that you can use them in your code, but they have a special meaning behind it. So if I say, if Balaji sir finish his debrief, then I start teaching. Here's a sentence for you, right? It's a simple English sentence. If Balaji sir finishes his debrief, then I, Achintan, start teaching this class or this meeting. In English, it's easy to write, right? But how do you translate that into code? How do you change it into code? So we have terms such as if, else, while, class, import. We also have the export command in in Python and Linux terminal. So these commands are very specific and they have a special meaning. You cannot use them in your program. If you try, you'll have issues. To demo this right now is very, very hard because you guys don't know about methods and functions and how to create your own custom functions. So once we come to that specific topic, I think day 4 is when we're going to get into that topic. I'll explain to you why we cannot use keywords with code. Okay, so I'll actually write a code which is completely wrong because we'll be using keywords for our own purpose. And then we'll look at the errors Python gives us and we'll study those errors. And I'll teach you how to use the Python documentation also to study errors because errors are so important. Warnings and errors, Python can be a fantastic toolkit if you know how to look at the errors, okay? Many people don't understand what the word backtrace means or how to look at the Python errors. So we'll be teaching you how to backtrack the stack and how to look at different errors and find where the issue was. A lot of fun stuff, okay? Debugging is going to be a whole other topic. So identifiers are names of various program elements, okay, that uniquely identify. So in Python, identifiers can be made of letters, digits, and underscores. Okay. So for example, an identifier can be a variable or a constant. Again, we'll be coming to what a variable or a constant is. And they can have names such as you can see on your screen right now. So you should be able to see examples: temperature, my pay rate, score to, IPL score. These are all names that can be made into identifiers. Okay. So if I go to the next screen, you can see here comments and variables. Now, before going to comments, I want to discuss variables first because I feel variables are the most, like most understood, but at the same time, people don't really have a deep understanding of what variable is and how it works. So imagine, okay, I want you to imagine with me that you have a box, okay, a cardboard box. Inside the box, you place one bag of something, say pebbles, one bag of pebbles, you place it in. It's a plastic bag, okay, it's tied up, and you place it inside the box. The box has a limit of, say, 10 such bags of pebbles, after which you won't be able to close the box properly and give it to, XYZ. That box is your variable. And the packets of pebbles that you're putting inside are your data that you're putting inside the variable. Now, many people might think, they'll hear this explanation, and if you've coded before, you might think, hey, isn't that an array? A box with multiple pebble packets? No, it's actually a variable. Because each of those pebble packets are actually bits and bytes. Okay? So variables store data inside them. How, again, is a very advanced concept. We're not going to how. They store data inside them of different kinds. Okay? So they can store text, they can store numbers, they can store the name of the country, state, and all of that. And they allow you to remember these values through labels or names, okay, also known as identifiers. So just before we played around with the word identifiers. So variables names are actually identifiers. So for example, you could have a variable called are you a cyber Raksha, whose value is going to be yes. Okay? This is an example of a variable. At the same time, there could be a variable called my maths marks, which will be equal to say 95, right? So that is another variable. So variables can actually store a variety of data, and the naming can vary based on your choice in Python. Variables have three types. You can assign, one type of variable is there where you can assign multiple values. Then there are global variables, there are output variables, and there's a special fourth type not mentioned here called temporary variables or local variables. We'll be going into temporary variables a little later in the course. That's why I have not mentioned them. To have a look at what kind of variables you can make, you have to understand data types. Again, I'll be coming back to comments later, so ignore that now. You have to understand what data types are. Data types are basically the types of data a language supports and allows you to work with. So these are all the types of data Python allows you to work with. You have text data, also known as string or str. You have numeric data that has three versions, int, float, and complex. You have sequence types, list, tuple, and range. You have mapping types known as dictionaries, which behave something similar to a JSON file. Okay? You have set types, so you have set and frozen set. These are concepts right out of discrete mathematics. Okay? So if you're having issues with this, we can have a separate class where I'm giving you videos and resources and explaining you what a set, what a frozen set is, what is a tuple, what is a list, what is a dictionary, etc. Boolean has bool, binary has 3 bytes, byte array and memory view, and then none has its own type called none. Again, I just threw a bunch of information at you and you'll be like, okay, I don't understand any of this. What just happened? Basically, this is a list of every kind of data you can store in Python. Okay. There are more types, but they're created by either you or somebody else. These are the types that Python gives you by default when you install it. You can create your own types as well. That's again a very advanced concept that we are not covering right now. And how to make a variable, what a variable is, again, we'll be coming to that a little bit later. But these are all the kinds of data you can store. And for those mathematics people who are thinking, okay, I think I know what a set is, or what a frozen set is, or what a tuple is, or I know what a dictionary is, you are right. This is exactly what you are taught in mathematics. The same thing. In maths, when you're taught a set, what is the definition you read for a set? A set is a collection of similar objects where there is no duplication, right? I feel everyone here should have studied set theory, at least in school, right? So that is what a set is. Again, if you don't know what a set is, you can always Google it up. Exactly the same thing. It's literally the mathematics concepts that Python allows you to tap into. So now that we know that we can have data of these many types and we can store them in variables, let's look at comments. And once I'm done with all this, I'll actually write a very small 2-line program to demonstrate all this before ending the class. So here you can see in the use of comments. Comments can be used to explain Python code. Comments can be used to make the code more readable. Comments can be used to prevent execution while testing something. Comments start with a hash symbol or a pound symbol, and Python will ignore it. For example, this is a comment, print hello. Let's test this out, shall we? Because I do believe in practical learning rather than just showing you, okay, this should work, that should work. So here in the interpreter, I'm going to type print hello Cybervidyapeeth, okay, and just after this sentence, I'm going to put a hash and I'm going to type this is a, okay. I'm going to hit enter and realize what happened. When I run this command, we do get our handy, familiar print of hello Cybervidyapeeth, but we do not get this comment. And this is what's special about comments. When you're using the comment syntax, which is the pound symbol or the hash sign, anything after this is ignored by Python. So I could actually go ahead and type a, anything, literally doesn't matter, and hit enter, and Python will simply ignore it. But if I type anything just like that and hit enter, Python will give me an error. It will give me a name error. It will say, hey, I don't know what you're trying to do here, but I don't know. Okay. Whatever you just told me, whatever this ASD, ASD, VV, BSV, whatever this is, I don't understand. But if I just copy this exact same thing, okay, and then I paste it up, magic, no errors, right? So Python ignores it completely. This is a very important concept because writing detailed comments in your Python program will help you later down the line. So always have a habit of writing comments about your code, okay? So to explain variables and comments better, I'm going to move to VS Code. And inside VS Code, I'm going to type just after the print statement, I'm going to put a hash, type this is a print statement, okay? And I'm going to go one line below and type A is equal to 10, B is equal to, inside quotes I'm going to type fruits, C is equal to 10.10, D is equal to true, and E is equal to okay. I'm going to save the program. I think I have not done any mistakes, and if I have not done any mistakes, we should be able to get an execution. So I'm going to go to my PowerShell prompt, which allows me to run my code. I'm going to try running the code. And there we go. We have 0 errors. Hello Cybervidyapeeth is still getting printed. So let's go back to our code. And as you can see, first of all, this statement was ignored. And then these statements were executed, but we couldn't tell the difference. So let's try understanding what just happened. A, B, C, D, E. We created these many variables, right? We created 5 variables. This is how you create a variable. So I'm going to add a comment. You have the variable name. You have the equal sign, and then you have the value. This is how Python works. Okay. So here A is equal to 10. And you can actually test this by typing another print statement and just printing the value of variable A. So again, I'm using the print, I'm opening the bracket and I'm closing the bracket, and inside I'm giving the name of the variable, not the value, okay? If I wanted to print 10, I could just type here 10. I'm typing A here. I want A equals to 10 getting printed. The value of A, 10 getting printed onto the screen. I'm going to press CTRLS and I'm going to run the code. And there we go. We can now see 10 cube. We can now see 10 cube. Some people are having zoom issues. Here, no zoom issues. Perfect. So moving on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to print all such variables. So I'm going to just go ahead and type B, C, D, so that you're able to see the output for everything. I'm going to save it up and run the program again. So I'm going to clear the screen and run the program. And this is how the output looks after we have added around 6 print statements. We have hello Cybervidyapeeth, and then notice how the print statement is able to pull the data from the variables and print it to the screen, use it for their own benefit. And notice something special here. Students, I can't really directly communicate with you, but I want you guys to figure out what is different here. Notice that 10 is perfectly fine, fruits is there, true has been printed and none has been printed. But there is a value here which has not been printed properly. Do you notice that? That is because this is a floating point number and a 0 had basically no meaning. So it was dropped. Let's test this out again. I'm going to change the number. Let's play around. Okay? Do you now see the output? Do you see the difference between the output? You see 1 0 1 1 1, right? Before the 0 was ignored, now it's not ignored. This is, the magic of Python. Python can actually detect when a certain number is not required in code or a value that is not required in code, and it truncates or removes that value from a variable while storing it. Here, it deemed that this variable, whatever value it had, it's important. I need to keep it. But before, it was like, okay, I don't understand, I'm going to just remove that 0. What is the 0 doing there anyway? Even if I type 100 zeros, it's still not going to show up. So if I type 3 zeros, if my understanding is correct, this should not show up the zeros. See, there we go. It truncated all the zeros because zeros have no value there, right? After the decimal and the 1, the zeros are useless. And mathematically speaking, and that is exactly why Python simply decides to remove. But if I put a 1 after these zeros and save and run the file again, we have already seen what happens. We get the value. So that's a nice thing about Python to remember. Python doesn't have a type declaration. What means is that you don't have to say something like number A is equal to number 10. You don't have to type something like this. Instead, what you type is A is equals to 10. If you guys remember back in the day, we used to study, mathematics, and many times in maths we used to solve questions. We used to go like, let x be 17 or 20, right? A similar thing is happening here. In your head, whenever you see a variable from now on, I want this statement to come in your head. Let A be whatever value you want to put. This is a very, nice way to remember that what value you set for your value. Also, please note, there is a reason it's called a variable, okay? Because the values can vary. For example, if you see down here, after I've printed all the values, I'm just going to print one value. I'm going to change the value of A to something like 30. Save the file, go back and run the file again. And now, so now we can see that before the value is 10 and after we make a change, the value is 13. And Python can actually do these changes on the fly. Okay? So these are, this is exactly why these identifiers are called as variables. Okay? Their values can vary and not just change from a number to number. For example, you can do this as well. You can change the nature of the variable. So, a moment ago it was storing a number 10 and now it's storing true. And if you want, you can make it store the word apple the next time you run the program. And just like that, the third time it will have apple. So Python actually takes care of your variable management or your memory management and a lot of other advanced concepts and converts the values on the fly. Another great reason people prefer Python. Because of all this and very little technicalities in creating a variable, I mean this is basically just what you used to learn in maths in 6 and 7. It makes our work really, really easy as a programmer, right? We only have to write this much and a variable is created. And then we can use the variable kinds of statements. Okay. So these are variables and constants. I'm going to again stop for any questions regarding the setup, about variables, constants, or comments. Okay. Again, I have not still gone into what a constant is, but if you still have any questions, I'll try my best to answer. That syllabus comes next. Okay. Okay, so I can see there aren't any big questions, just two questions. So the first question is, what is local and global variables? That is a concept for another day. For that, you'll need to learn method, classes, and modules. And the word global itself is actually changing if you're working with a huge Python project. So, we'll have to explain to you how do you define local. Okay. So, for example, you can make your own library which has its own variables which are not changed across your program. You can also use other people's code which does change across programs. So local and global and how they relate to functions, methods, classes and modules, as well as creating your own init.py files is a lot to go through. Okay, I don't want you guys to rush through. I know for some students I may be going a little slow because you might have already watched the video, given the test, and you might know all this, but please bear with me. Slowly and slowly, we'll build on all these concepts and we'll look at better code and better examples day by day, okay? And from tomorrow, the classes are going to be much longer, much more detailed. I'll be showing you multiple examples of the same thing. I'll be showing you variations from different popular websites, and I will also be sharing some platforms with you. So I'm going to stop here in terms of what we'll be teaching in Python and share some resources with you because I feel resources are very important for you guys right now. So in my browser, the first resource that I want to share with you guys is this site called TryHackMe. And specifically, there are two pages I want to share. This is the first page. It's tryhackme.com/room/Python basics. This is a fantastic resource for learning the basics of Python all in one day. Okay? And it provides you access to this code editor where you can actually go ahead, run your code, and test things out in a safe environment. If you do not have a laptop and you're still planning to learn Python, or say that you will get a laptop from tomorrow, from next class, because you don't have it now, I highly recommend go out, check out, and complete this Python basics room. This is a completely free room. You just need to log in. Once you have logged in, you can go ahead and start answering. It's completely free to play around with. The link, again, all of it will be put in the Telegram group by me and my team. So you do not need to worry about any of that. Okay. The second link here is the tryhackme/module/Linux-fundamentals. Okay. This again is a fantastic page. You can complete this. It has three parts: part 1, part 2, and part 3. And it will take you to the fundamentals of Linux. So for example, if I click on part, it will actually take me to my account. So here's the Linux fundamentals, part 1, part 2, part 3. It also explains to you what a module is on this website called TryHackMe. You can go ahead and complete this if you want to learn more about Linux. Okay. Please, I repeat, please make sure that you start messing around with Linux, at least in a virtual environment. If you want to play directly with the Linux we'll be messing most with, then I recommend going to this website called kali.org, clicking on the download button. After going to the download page, clicking on the virtual machine option and downloading a virtual machine for either the VMware application or the VirtualBox application. Once you have it, you can double click on it and it will open up like so. Right now in front of you, you should be able to see Kali link.